Hey Kay, um, I am unbelievably frustrated, mainly because I filmed a video for like the past like 15 minutes and it didn't save for whatever reason. So hopefully this one saves and we're good to go. But first and foremost, I hope your quad is feeling better. If it is not feeling better, please check in with me and do not start the programming and don't try to push through pain or anything like that. That's the last thing that we want to do, especially when facing a potential injury. So, second of all, hope you're enjoying your abbreviated week here. I'm taking the day off tomorrow, mainly to spend some time with the wife um, sorry, prior to the family get together on Thursday, inevitably. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. So, you at this point you should have already received the programming. If you open up your programming, just like have it side by side with this video, and just like listen along, so that way we can go along any kind of like questions or concerns you may have. Just to get in front of it, so that way by the time you're ready to get started, we are on the same page. So let me just give you some brief. My phone is blowing up, so sorry about that. Um, so just to give you a brief idea of why this cycle is the way it is mainly because first and foremost the frequency for competition movements are relatively low. You're only doing one competition movement amongst each competition movement once per week. So what I mean by that is in a formal powerlifting program, typically competition-like movements are done anywhere between 2 to 4 times per week. This time we're only doing one, so that way we can make room for more non-specific and varied exercises. So even in the specific movements that you're doing, there's still some variations to it, which we'll get into in a second. But keep in mind that this program is absolutely written for number one, to get you back to health after doing a meet, and number two, to reinforce weaker areas and to really focus on those small muscle groups, kind of like we talked about earlier on. So, first and foremost, secondly, that's just some general like information on this, and last but not least, in terms of why we're doing some tempo work and stuff like that, because that dominates a lot of your comp movements. The tempo work is meant to open up your tendons, to stretch them out, and give your muscles a break from firing fast all the time, and letting your body kind of recover and relearn the movements, and reinforce positioning patterns that are going to be really important for us to take advantage of next cycle. So at this point, just have the program side by side. I'm just going to walk you through briefly each day on the week one. So number one, comp squat, day one, week one. Number one, you were doing 10 reps at 6, then 10 reps at 7. This is both at 6 RPE and 7 RPE. And then immediately after that, you are going to reduce weight. So the 10 at 7 will be less than your 5 at 7, because your 5 at 7 is going to be a 5-3-0 tempo. So that means 5 seconds on the way down, 3 seconds pausing at the bottom of your squat, and then 0 moving it as quickly as you possibly can through the concentric. This is going to be 5 at 7 and 5 at 8, but this will quickly upgrade to 5 at 9 later on in the week. So just keep in mind that we are expecting weekly progressions. So your 5 at 9 for week 2 should be potentially beaten by your 5 at 9 by week 3. If you cannot beat your week-to-week performance, get in touch with me. Comp bench. 10 at 6, 10 at 7, 5 at 7, 5 at 8. This is the same protocol as your squats. So you first do 10 at 6, 10 at 7 at regular speed, then 5 and 7 and 5 at 8 at a 5-3-0 tempo. Then going into density training back work. I think you're going to really enjoy this. Density training is basically a bodybuilding method that I personally really like to use for smaller muscle groups, or muscle groups that don't really get hit in a powerlifting program. So first and foremost, you're finding a 10 rep near max. So you're going to use any possible row variation that you personally prefer. So you can choose from like cable row, T-bar row, chest supported row, single arm row, XYZ bent over row, whatever the case is. But basically, choose whichever row variation you like to do. Pull-ups are not an option, only because I prefer the rows to be horizontal rather than vertical, at least for right now. But find a 10 rep near max, and then spend 8 minutes doing as many reps as possible. whenever doing this, your minimum should be 30 reps, your maximum should be 40 reps. Outside of 12 minutes or so, you really shouldn't be hitting above 60 reps, and if you do, then that means that you undershot your initial 10 at 9. So this is actually a good way to kind of practice RPE ratings. Then Arnold press, high reps, low rest period, 90 to 120 seconds of rest or so. Arnold presses are basically here and then rotating the elbow all the way through your range of motion. This is going to be really helpful with building up your shoulders, which I think will help out with your bench. Going on to day 2, we're doing alternate stance deadlift, so we're going to go into conventional for this cycle for your day 2 movement. You will still have sumo on day 4, but for right now, I want to focus on building out your hamstrings, your lower back, your glutes, and giving your body a break from doing competitive pulling at the sumo, just because I don't want to risk any kind of injury here, and I think that working on your conventional will actually help that out. Pin press is literally the only weakness correction movement that you have that's hyper specific. So pin press 6 at 7, 6 at 6, 6 at 7, 6 at 8. Pin press means that you're setting up the pins right at chest height, and as you're coming down, you are coming down in a slow and controlled manner to make contact on the chest and on the pins at the same time, evenly and softly. As soon as you made contact, press as hard as you possibly can towards your shoulders on the way up, and we'll be fine. So this is a good way to kind of get to work earlier on your bench press. The way I see it is that your squat and your deadlift are already pretty competitive. I believe that your squat, you definitely left some pounds on the table there on your squat for the competition, and I think that your true 1 rep max is actually higher than what you hit. However, where we can really get the most bang for our buck is investing very early on into fixing and building your bench press, so that way we can get that really awesome total. And hopefully, if you want to compete by March outside of the deadlift only, or if you want to compete alternatively to the deadlift only, we may want to break that 400 Wilks just to get it out of the way, so that way at nationals we can build on the 400 Wilks rather than breaking a 400 Wilks. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So pin press, that's what it is, and then leg presses. This is with the leg press machine. You're doing 12 at 6, 12 at 7, 12 at 8, and then another 12, and then another 12 at 8. Next week and the weeks after that will feature AMRAPs, because I know that you like doing AMRAPs for yourself. So my goal is to also give you things that you personally like to do for yourself outside of your own programming. Leg raises, this is core work, basically max effort for 3 rounds. This is hanging from a bar or hanging from the Roman chair that you may have at Elite or another gym that you go to. We also have a leg raise station here at Murder and Crows, so feel free to go wherever you like on that one. Bulgarian, so day 3 is super, super important, mainly because this is going to be your primary unilateral day. So this is going to be focusing on strengthening your smaller muscle groups, focusing on hip stability, and then also focusing on just neurologically teaching your legs to fire evenly. So Bulgarian split squats, this is going to be with your foot on a band, just to make it harder for yourself. A foot on a band and not on a bench. So set up a band across a squat rack right at knee height, and then get your foot on that band, so that way you can really force yourself to stabilize and really recruit a lot of musculature that you normally wouldn't if you were on a bench. This is for both legs, by the way. So for every single leg exercise that I give, 10 at 6 doesn't mean 10 at 6 on one leg, 10 at 6 on both legs. All right. Dumbbell bench, this is a flat bench. This is with regular dumbbells. This is focusing on shoulder stability and building a bigger chest for your bench press. This is going to be 90 to 120 seconds here. Single leg RDL. This is going to be contrasting, meaning that if your right foot is on the ground, your left hand is holding the dumbbell. Your chest and hips have to stay square to the ground. And although I'm not specifically enforcing a tempo here, you should try your best to slow down the range of motion throughout, just to make sure you're not losing balance and making sure that you're really focusing on your ability to brace and to stay tight. Last but not least, reverse flies. This is bent over. This is with smaller dumbbells. You're going to reverse fly and get your shoulder blades to squeeze back together as hard as you possibly can make them. This is a really, really good way to kind of get your shoulder blades back during the bench press, and also to help brace them during the deadlift. So this is going to be a staple for the next 4 weeks at the very least. Day 4, comp deadlift, this is going to be the same strategy that we did on day one. So remember that all comp movements are actually varied in and of themselves by tempoing them up. So first you do 8 at 6 and 8 at 7 at regular speed, and then you do 5 at 7 and 5 at 8 at a 3-2-5 tempo. This is to mainly work on your grip, just to kind of let you know I haven't forgotten about you working on your grip and having potential grip issues in the past. But keep in mind that your 5 at 7 and 5 at 8 are 3-2-5 tempos, so 3 seconds on the way up, 2-second hold at top, and then 5 seconds to bring the bar all the way down. You should feel a lot of tension in your hamstrings on the way down. Then incline close grip bench press. Close grip just basically means webbing on the knurling, basically, or webbing on the smooth and rough border. You're going to incline it at a 45-degree angle. First find a 12 at 9 RPE, and then do 10 minutes doing an AMRAP. As I said before about the density stuff, you want to shoot for anything about 30 to 40 reps at the very least. Last but not least, snatch grip RDL, or sorry, not last but not least, but snatch grip RDL. This is with basically a wider grip deadlift position. Your feet are going to be underneath your hips. You're going to keep your chest tall so as to not round your back, and this is both hitting your hamstrings, your glutes, your erectors, and your lower back. So this is a really good movement for preventing a lower back injury by strengthening the lower back up as best we can. Crunch in planks basically means that you're planking on your elbows, but you're pulling your rib cage in, so you feel a lot of tension build up in your abs. If you can do this for more than 30 seconds, then add weight onto your thoracic spine. And then at some point this week, make sure that you do adductor and abductor work. This is just like you could either do abandoned monster walks, you could do clamshells, you could even do the machine if you'd like to. But just keep in mind that at some point I'd like you to get a pretty high rep workout on the adductors and abductors, just to strengthen up the hips. So that way we can force adaptations to carry ourselves through once we get actually into a more powerlifting centered workout. But this is more so bodybuilding with just maintaining your powerlifting numbers for now, since we have so much time. So with that being said, hopefully this saves. I'm crossing my fingers, but I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and let me know if you have any questions, concerns for me, and hopefully this helps. If I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'll see you soon. Take care.